You know, I'm a physician, and I find that for the serious public health issues of our time, that we're impotent. Our medicines are impotent. And with ayahuasca, I had discovered for the first time a medicine worthy of its name, capital M medicine. And as you know, ayahuasca is considered the medicine by many of the indigenous peoples of the South American Amazonian basin because of its profound ability to transform.
Such a profound experience to have been out there in deep space. And I'm not the kind of person that would have expected this kind of experience. I mean, I would have expected, if someone were to tell me you're going to take this drug that's going to launch your consciousness, I would have expected that I would see angels and fairies and not alien life forms. I have no interest in that. That's not part of, you know, I've never liked science fiction. I've never been into any of those kinds of things. It's not part of any sphere of interest, but to be out there with these other life forms, this greater intelligence, was absolutely
I think it's a different understanding of death. I think this culture suffers from a complete misunderstanding of what death is. As a whole, and individuals might be different. And I think that's one of the things that happens to people when you take a psychedelic, is it'll change your conception of what death is. It'll really confirm to you that you are not your body, and you're not your personality either. And you don't know what it is exactly that is different, but it's something that's different. And that's why in the Hefter studies they had using psilocybin to improve the quality of life. That such beautiful examples of people have shown how they through having that experience, it completely evaporated the fear of death. Recognizing that no, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's something will happen, but I don't need to be afraid of that. I can just concentrate on living my life. It's not an attraction to death, not at all. And I think that's common to all the psychedelics, including, of course, DMT and all of those. And to me, that's one of the things the shamanic cultures teach us. The literature on the Aztecs, and Gordon Wasson talks about that in his book, how the mushroom-taking Aztecs said they got together in houses and they saw themselves dying. And the priests thought, oh, this is ridiculous. Look at these people. They think that they see themselves dying. But how crazy can you be? And when you think about what psychedelics do, obviously it was deliberate. They were cultivating what we might call a deathbed vision. That anticipating your dying consciously. People do that on a vision quest. They do that in meditation. Meditate on your mortality. It's part of Tibetan Buddhism. You meditate on formlessness and impermanence, and in order to get a clearer connection to your essence and the spiritual reality of the world all around us and throughout us.
When I popped through there, then the psychedelic trip would start. I thought I died. I saw the white clouds, the Renaissance white fluffy clouds with the gods and the angels and all that stuff is what I saw. I thought I was dying and going out, but I did take a quick look at Cindy and a quick look at Rick because I had my eyes open, and they were both there watching, looking very calm. And I go, oh, that's really good news. My body looks fine.
So I didn't know whether it was my birth I was re-experiencing, my death which was yet to come, because I know that time crumbles. The linearity of time is totally meaningless in these states. You are at the Godhead, the point where all time folds in on itself.
And there was no I. There was just a sense of a witness being suspended in this incredible vaulted space, like a cathedral made out of stained glass of all imaginable colors, unbelievable brilliance and saturation of color, just this amazing pattern in this dome, this gigantic dome. It felt like the size of of a small planet, and there were these winged beings. I don't remember exactly what they looked, but were like angels something like angels, that were majestically kind of flying through the space. But there was something about the quality of how they were flying that was unique. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like, I don't know, a sense of another realm that was there. My sense was at some point there was this implicit sense, this is the divine realm.
This is like the actual core of where all of reality is emanating from. This is where meaning comes from. Symbols were pouring out, they were intertwined. Every symbol and letter and in every language was pouring out of this point.
And I looked around at my environment and I was trying to absorb everything, to understand, but there were all of these machines or structures or things that I had never seen before, that I had no idea what they were. I was like a caveman in a computer lab. I didn't have any idea, but I knew in my intellectual awareness that this was a very advanced civilization or life forms or whatever they were.
This is not some recreational thing, and I don't believe anybody should enter this lightly. It is life transformative. It will perhaps shake you enough to realize, you know, that you need to be awake to the fact that you don't know, and that is the beginning of starting to know.
What we see here is such a tiny part of what is real. I get really frustrated because, of course, there's no way to prove that where I went was deep space, that I encountered, you know, other entities, other life forms that exist in this universe. At some point, maybe our civilization will become advanced enough and we will throw off these anchors of impossible thought, that these things are impossible, that it's not, you know, that everything that exists where we can see it.
It just rips that filtering mechanism away for a few minutes, and for a few minutes you're immersed in sort of this raw data sphere of input, of sensory input, of memories, of associations. I mean, it seems like the brain builds reality out of these things, what you're experiencing, what you have experienced, and how you associate and synthesize these things together to tell yourself a story, essentially, about what's going on, where you are in space and time.
This is not a new phenomenon. Entities in altered states, you know, have been recognized for an extremely long time in many cultures over the millennium. Helpers, spirit assistants, angels, all of these different entities have been fairly common throughout man's experience of altered states.
It's amazing that people don't know about it. I mean, it's the most incredible experience. I mean, we are such an experience-obsessed society. I mean, everybody wants to go whitewater rafting, and people want to talk about, you know, my uncle climbed Mount Everest. It's all about experiences. We all want to ride roller coasters and see the craziest movies. There is a little powder, and you smoke this little powder, and it will change the way you look at everything. You won't care about UFOs. If a UFO landed right out there, I'd be like, wow, yeah, they're probably from another planet. Whatever. It's not DMT. DMT is 100,000 times crazier than that. It's like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens. That's what it's like. And literally, I mean, it sounds, it's crazier than you could possibly imagine or describe. If you take DMT, you will communicate with something. And it's so beyond description that me talking about it is like trying to explain a kaleidoscope to a blind man. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no way you could explain it. I mean, it's so beyond anything you can explain. But something communicates with you when you do this stuff. And my words do it no justice.
And a tone, and then